In this video, I'm going to share 4 ways that hearing aids can save your marriage. Coming up. Hi guys, Cliff Olson, Doctor of Audiology and founder of Applied Hearing Solutions in Phoenix, Arizona. And on this channel, I cover a bunch of hearing-related information to help make you a better informed consumer. So if you're into that, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to click the bell to receive a notification every time I post a new video. Hey Ashley! I just started recording and I forgot my water. Can you get it for me? I said, I forgot my water. Could you get it for me?
Air conditioner on?
No, I don't want you to turn on the air conditioner. I want you to just get my water.
Call your mother?
No, I don't want you to call my mother. I want you to get my water. Never mind, I'll get it. Just so you know, my wife Ashley does not have a hearing loss, but because she's in a completely different room, there's very small chance that no matter how loud I want to talk to her, she's just not going to understand what I'm saying. Now, if you've been married for any amount of time, then you've probably already experienced multiple failed attempts to communicate with your spouse from a different room. Yet, if you're like me, it doesn't stop you from getting frustrated every single time it doesn't work. However, as the anniversaries pass by year after year, as you grow more and more in love with your significant other, hearing loss can also start to creep in and create communication difficulties even when you're in the same room as your spouse. You see, as we all get older, at some point, most likely all of us will experience some level of hearing loss that we call presbycusis, which is known as age-related hearing loss. The biggest problem with presbycusis is that this type of hearing loss often results in the ability to still hear that someone's talking to you, but doesn't allow you to actually understand what they're saying. And this, of course, leads to a lot of situations where someone's constantly having to ask for someone to repeat what they're saying. Now, if you're watching this video, then there is a high probability that you've had experience with some of this firsthand with either yourself or with your spouse, when someone says something to the other person and they respond with something that's completely off the wall. This actually occurs because most hearing losses like presbycusis result in the absence of certain speech sounds not being able to make it from your ears to your brain. And these speech sounds that I'm talking about are called phonemes. When you combine different phonemes together, they create words. So if you can hear all of the phonemes when someone's talking to you, you can actually hear and understand everything that they're saying. So when you have a hearing loss, what does your brain actually do? Well, the brain is trying to fill in the gaps of these missing phonemes. And so what this results in is either someone asking you to constantly repeat what you're saying so they can get enough context to fill in the gaps, or their brain tries to fill in the gaps for them, and sometimes the brain gets it wrong. Obviously, this can lead to a lot of marital stress, not only from having to constantly repeat for the spouse who can't hear, but also the potential that neither one of them will ever want to communicate because they know it's just too difficult. In a lot of cases, hearing loss inside of a marriage leads to significant communication breakdown, which is extremely bad for a marriage. So here are the 4 ways that hearing aids can actually save your marriage. And the first way is that hearing aids can be specifically programmed to replace the missing phonemes of speech. Hearing loss is often a result of the deterioration of hair cells inside of the cochlea, which is your hearing organ. For most individuals, the first area to experience a decline in hearing ability is the high frequency ranges. The high frequency ranges of hearing have the high frequency phonemes, which give you clarity. If you can program hearing aids to give back these high frequency consonant sounds, then you can restore a lot of clarity to speech. This way, the brain gets a full amount of information so it no longer has to guess which sounds are missing. And that means that there are significantly less situations where a spouse will have to ask for repetition or just sit back and ignore what the other person is saying. The reduced stress that results from treating a hearing loss with hearing aids is enough to save a marriage. But just in case it isn't, the second way that hearing aids can actually save a marriage is that it will increase social interaction. It does not take long to realize that a hearing loss and social engagements in a background noise environment do not mix. If a spouse has hearing loss and doesn't just completely avoid social engagements altogether, they're probably going to these things and turning into a wallflower where they basically don't interact with anybody. The other alternative is that the spouse that has a hearing loss usually relies on the spouse that does not have a hearing loss to translate everything that is happening in a social situation. And what that does is it basically ruins the experience for everybody. I've even seen cases where an untreated hearing loss goes way beyond just impacting the other spouse. I've seen it to the point where children feel like their parents don't even love them anymore because anytime they get together, the individual who has a hearing loss doesn't interact with anybody. The good news is, hearing aids, when programmed the right way, can overcome a lot of hearing difficulties inside of background environments as well. This is because when you replace high-frequency speech information, that is what the brain uses to separate speech from background noise. This way, the individual who has the hearing loss can go into these background noise situations and still be able to function without having to completely rely on their spouse to translate everything. The third way that hearing aids can actually save your marriage is that they will allow you to spend more quality time together. Now, this will probably not shock you at all, but if one spouse wants to watch the TV at a volume level of 75 and the other one wants to watch the TV at a volume level of like 11, then there is no chance that you're going to be able to get those two individuals into the same room at the same time while watching TV. However, it doesn't stop there. This goes for nearly every single situation that a married couple will encounter over the course of their lifetime if one of them has hearing loss. While just being in the physical presence of someone you love can be an enjoyable experience, for most couples, being able to actually communicate is a very important part of a marriage. So whether it's watching TV together, driving somewhere in the car and being able to have a conversation, or just sitting down eating breakfast with each other, hearing aids can restore audibility to speech, which means that you'll be able to communicate a lot better. And the fourth, and perhaps the most important way that hearing aids can save your marriage is that they reduce resentment. Now, I am no marriage expert, but I would suspect that resentment is one of the leading causes of divorce. Resentment can be created by a lot of different things, whether it's infidelity, whether it's abuse, whether it's money issues, or whether it's a lack of communication. The fact of the matter is that individuals with a hearing loss often do not understand what they're missing, but the spouse sure as heck does. Perhaps the best thing about hearing aids is their ability to restore better communication inside of a household, thereby removing resentment felt by a spouse. Treating a hearing loss with hearing aids does way more than just restore a person's ability to hear. It quite literally changes the dynamics of communication inside of a marriage. So if you or your spouse has difficulty communicating, the best thing that you can do is have your hearing evaluated to identify if hearing aids could actually help, because it could quite possibly save your marriage. That's it for this video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. If you like the video, please share it. If you want to see other videos just like this one, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also, feel free to check out my website, drcliffaud.com. Hey, Ashley. I just started recording and I forgot my water. Can you get it for me? I said, I forgot my water. Could you get it for me?